asks, why write for younger readers? With all the writing you could do, what is it that brings you back to young adult and middle grade? Or is there some genre you're still anticipating doing for adults?
The book I'm writing right now, not the funeral home book, the other one that my agent would kill me if I told you about, that might land in an adult space. I'm not positive. It's a war book, so the characters are young, but the timeline is long. So I wonder. I'm not quite sure. It's at a certain point, sometimes it's audience, sometimes you write, you're like, this is middle grade. It has a middle grade voice, it has all the middle grade tropes. I want it to go to young readers. And sometimes it's like, this is a story and some marketer should decide what shelf it goes on. So to a certain extent, it's not up to me. But I am drawn continuously to young adult and middle grade books, both as a reader and as a writer. I think there is something in the best of them that's really okay. You know how they say teenagers are dramatic? I have one now. She's 14. You know how they say that teenagers are like super dramatic? And they mean it as an insult, like tone it down, kids, right? It's prom. It's not life and death. But what we forget, I think, as adults is it felt like life and death. This drama is not a false drama, right? It genuinely feels to young people like weddings and funerals every day. They were living this incredibly intense life that doesn't have like a layer of, mortgage and dullness and responsibility on top of it, and how you just kind of learn to smooth yourself out to get along in the world. My 14-year-old is right a lot. There's no one quite as right as a 14-year-old girl who's right. So yeah, there's something appealing about writing that. And what I do is write in genre so that you can make it match the level of intensity. Because like prom is not life and death. But what is Cinderella except a story about prom that's life and death?
That's true.
Right? So genre is a way of fairy tales, fantasy, science fiction, even something like a murder mystery or an animal adventure. These vocabularies that we develop for young people are a way of taking a very ordinary story and just bumping it up to match that level of experience. Just, like, what is Buffy? It's like, my high school is built over the mouth of hell, right? My high school was built over the mouth of hell. Her high school is literally over the mouth of hell. Mine just must have been. It would have explained so many things, right? What is feeling like you don't belong and no one understands you? That's a changeling experience, right? It's, I turn out to be secretly the fairy king, and that's why none of this made sense. I am fundamentally special and different from everyone else, and here's my Hogwarts letter. These are not false feelings. These are real feelings, and feelings that we just kind of learn to ignore as grown-ups, because, it would be a pretty miserable, unlivable world if everyone at the DMV was waiting for their Hogwarts letter. But,
I'd be more excited about going there if I thought there was absolutely a possibility I'd get one.
You kind of go along to get along. The kids don't. And so it's fun to write for them. It's really fun to write for them. They're so much more willing to tell a great story and to just match a level of drama and intensity. They're really interesting critical readers. Like, if you try to slip something past them, they're going to call BS so fast. And they will tell you about it if you go to school visits. They will actually tell you to your face. Like, grown-ups don't generally do that except on the internet. Face-to-face, they rarely. So, they're a fun audience.
1-star review on Amazon where the author will never see it.
I had to put Goodreads into my porn filter so that my website wouldn't go there. It's not a happy place for authors. Everyone can have any opinion they want about their books. I just don't need to know. That's fine. No, I love writing for young people. I really do. I like young people. I like teenagers. I think teenagers are great. And I say this actually living with one all the time. I think teenagers are fabulous. They're so interesting. I can't wait for them to take over the world. They're going to do such a better job than my generation did running the planet into the ground. I think they got something going on. And I would write for them any day. It's an honor.
I really love it when I meet young people who are outraged and in a way that adults aren't. And it's like, no, it's not that adults are right and you're wrong. It's just we've all made compromises on how we have to go along to get along, and you're not there yet. You are having the correct response.
Absolutely.
Please continue raging.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And then final question, we'll call it a day because you've been extremely generous with your time, and I really enjoyed talking with you, and I want to end this while we're still having fun.
Okay.
So my last question for you is if there was one thing you could go back and tell yourself when you were starting writing that would have made your journey to this point easier, or a couple of things, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself that authors listening could apply to their own careers?
Well, I wish I could tell little bitty Erin that books are things that humans make, not actually created by unicorns. If I had realized that a little bit earlier, I might have gotten a few years in on the books. But then I might not have had the fun with physics. It's hard to rewrite time. But what I really wish I'd known as a young writer is there's a wonderful Ira Glass quote that you might know because it's out there a lot. It says, basically, you get into this game because you have taste. You recognize what magic looks like when you see it on the page. And, that's what's driving you forward. It's the quest for that magic. That you have to have that. If you don't have that, you really can't get very far. But when you put your first stuff on the page, it's not going to have that spark, and you're going to feel like a talentless hack. When you put your first stuff down as a beginner, it'll twinkle here and there, and that's great, but it's not going to live up to your expectations. And that's more an indication of your taste and your ability to perceive magic than it is of your talent. It's not that you can't do it, it's that you haven't quite learned to do it yet. And the other thing to know is, when you're seeing it on someone's page and it's a published book, that's like draft 8. And it's been through the hands of probably 2 or 3 rounds of really smart readers and editors and proofreaders and copy editors. And a lot of people have made that book look as beautiful as it does. And the fact that your first draft doesn't is really not a condemnation. So I wish I had more fully understood that. And I hope that young people who are just starting out will give themselves a little time to play and just enjoy the twinkly parts. I know they want it to blaze. We all want it to be brilliant all the time. And it never is, and it's kind of disappointing. And I wish that young writers understood that everybody is kind of going, well, that bit is good, but the rest of it, maybe I should just put it in a drawer and stop. Everybody wanders and everybody struggles. And if you keep going, you might not get where you wanted to end up, but you probably will end up somewhere interesting. So I wish I had known that earlier, and I hope some young writer out there can know it now.
I think that's the perfect note to end on.